Welcome to the Player Development Pod. Once again, this is Season 2, and we're talking to people who are doing the work in player development. Today, I'm honored to have Andre Sims here. Andre's doing a great job at the high school level, and I'm excited to have him on because I worked at the high school level. And I know that doing player development at the high school level, he's going to face more things or see more things than I saw at the college level. Because at the college level, I got 120 guys. We could house them, feed them. There's a lot of solutions I could create. And Andre's dealing with a lot of different stories, a lot of different backgrounds. So I'm excited to see, and I'm so excited for you all to hear, hopefully you're excited as I am, for you all to hear Andre's story. Andre, and he'll go over it, but he played football at Michigan State, journalism, graduated a journalism degree there, then went to Georgia Southern, graduated with a sports management degree there. Then he went to, he started in high school at Brookwood, where you're at Brookwood right now, correct?
Correct. I am
correct. So he's
resource.
Yeah, so he's back at Brookwood, and he'll talk about that more. And then he goes to Central Missouri, gets his MBA. I mean, my brother, he got degrees on degrees. Love to see it. And then Tennessee State, then has an NFL internship. And as he said, he's back at Brookwood. So, Andre, let's start this off, man. If you could tell us about yourself, man.
Yeah, man. Like I said, I really appreciate you having me on. And then this player development realm is growing so vastly that, like you said, the high school level is starting to kind of apply some of that teaching that you get at the college level. And we see the college level turn into the pros, and then high school level turn into college. And now you got these young dudes, 6Us, 12Us, getting ready for the high school level. Like it's continuously innovating. But for me, I was born in Cleveland, Ohio, raised in Georgia. So I say, I tell people I'm a Georgia native. Grew up in a two-parent household. I had both my parents in my life. I was blessed to have both my parents in my life because they both played significant roles. I think my mom was more so on the school tip, which is why my degrees play a huge factor in my resume. And then my dad, with the player development side, seeing how him being a former athlete and him not having that opportunity to make it to the next level, me taking it a step further and innovating in our in my family, just overall going to the next level and being that trailblazer for the rest of my family to get their degrees. So being in a two-parent household has really helped me. I'm the oldest of three brothers, so developing that leadership my whole life, trying to continuously develop that in the role that I am in now, but even taking that a step further and applying the knowledge, and we talked about that prior. For me, graduated from Brookwood High School. I was a state champion my senior year in football. We won state and track my junior year. So my whole life I've been engulfed in just like the tradition of excellence, and that's what Brookwood is all about. That's our motto, tradition of excellence. Been a part of the professional level my whole life. My dad has made so many connections at the NFL level, and I'll talk about my internship with the Falcons and how that ties in. But just being exposed to that professional level at a young age is super important. So for me, playing high school, my dad told me, he said straight up, hey, man, I'm a state champion, because my dad won state when he was in high school, too, as a quarterback. So he said, man, look, in order for you to even talk to me about anything relevant, you got to go ahead and win state. And I took it personal, so I went ahead and got it. So we have conversations about that all the time. But winning state my senior year, being able to play with those guys and go out like we did was a blessing, and still communicate with those guys to this day. And that plays into player development, too, building relationships and building bridges. For me, taking that next step was all about the focus and the attention to detail and the sacrifice. Michigan State offered me my junior year. I committed right after our official visit because I knew that was the school for me. I only had two offers coming out of high school. I was a 5'8", 160 wide receiver in the South. So, I was quick. I had good hands. But a lot of those schools, in the SEC country, you got to be explosive. You got to be that type of dude to go to those schools. And I, like I said, I wouldn't change my path at all. But Michigan State seen that in me, and I felt that, and that authentic, relationship that we had. When I went up there on my official visit, they said, hey, look, man, your junior year was good, but if your senior year ain't better than your junior year, we'll pull it. You 5'8", 160 coming up to the Big Ten, like you got to show us something. So I took, like I said, I take things personal just because of my life, how it's been played out. I've always been too short, too small, too slow, and all this other stuff. People telling you can't, but Michigan State actually believed in me, gave me an opportunity to come up there and play in the Big Ten. And as a result, I was there for 4 years, 2011, 2015. A part of some great teams. Kirk Cousins was there, Le'Veon Bell was there, Darqueze Dennard was there, Trey Waynes, one of my best friends, Tywan Jones, Darian Harris, who's doing player engagement.
My guy. Oh yeah, that's my guy.
Yeah, building those relationships. Even at that point in my life, I didn't even have an idea of what player development was, and I'm sure you know who Ashton Henderson is too.
Oh yeah,
Ashton is Ashton. I'm telling you, Ashton really implemented a program my freshman year at Michigan State called Manhood Mondays, where I didn't know it at the time, but that, in a sense, was the first player development program that I've ever been a part of. So we met on Monday. We met on Mondays every week. We talked about resources. We talked about, campus police. We talked about, your resumes, business etiquette, and things of that nature. And none of that stuff really computed at the time. We 18-year-old kids, man. We on a college campus. The mindset was completely different. But after Ashton left our first year, our freshman year, it really changed just for the better in the mindset that we had as a class coming in, because after that we went to the Outback Bowl, we played in the Buffalo Wild Wings Bowl, and every year it got better. We went to the Big Ten Championship in 2013. We played Ohio State after they came off of that year of the sanctions, right? So they were undefeated up until the Big Ten Championship. We actually got a chance to play them and won that game. That was an intense game, going up against Urban Meyer and all them cats that they had back then, Braxton Miller. They had a whole list of guys that competed at the highest level. But winning the Big Ten Championship, going to the Rose Bowl, playing Stanford, even going to the not Capital One Bowl, but the Cotton Bowl and playing Baylor. Had the opportunity to play Baylor, and just the environment in itself, the aura. You being a part of that and being a part of a successful program, it sticks with you for the rest of your life. So for me, after I graduated with my BA in journalism, I had one more year of eligibility. I went to Georgia Southern. I played down there, and we went to the GoDaddy Bowl for the first time in school history. That was our first bowl game. So, in a sense, my life has always been about breaking through barriers. And no matter where I'm at, what team I'm with is always something special. And I don't think I'm the common denominator. I think the Lord just blessed me to be a part of journeys, that have allowed me to kind of put those pieces together. So, for me, getting my second master's was all a part of my mom encouraging me to continue to go on. If they're going to pay for it, you might as well get it. So that was her. That was her saying, if they're going to give you some money to get an education, go ahead and do it. So that's exactly what I did. I got my second degree in sports management. Shortly after graduating from there, actually before I graduated, I came back to Brookwood, and I was a lay coach. So I started coaching safeties and substituting for a little bit. And then I got my first call to, a Division II school out in Missouri, UCM, Central Missouri, a really good competitive Division II school. We had
fighting mules, right?
Fighting mules, yeah. We were breaking records left and right, top in the conference in offense and defense, and we had a really good team that year. And that was the mind switch for me. Coaching is cool, but I knew for me after that opportunity, it was a wonderful opportunity, but I knew for me, coaching wasn't it. You're always on the road, you're always doing this. It wasn't really the stability factor, and it wasn't there, especially if you're an individual trying to have a family, right? You need to understand, your woman has to be able to understand that, hey, I'm on the road, boo. I got to do this, that, and the third. I'm always moving, and I know that kind of conflicts with a lot of things that a relationship entails, but at the same time, it opened my eyes to what I really wanted to do, which was player development. So after that, I got an opportunity to go to Tennessee State. That's where player development for me really took shape. My little brother was on the football team, so that was another blessing in itself. I was under Coach Reed. Coach Mayshak brought me in. Coach Mayshak is actually at Indiana right now. But Coach Mayshak brought me in. I was responsible for handling the wide receivers at the time. The receiver coach left, so I had to take them full time. But in that process of GAing, I had to, check guys in, talk to guys, build those relationships. And that's where I really started to fall in love with player development. And from there, one of my mentors that I've known since I was in middle school, Kevin Winston. He's a good dude, works for the NFL.
Oh, yeah.
Kevin Winston, he's like the GOAT in NFL.
Yeah, him and his brother. So I got a good relationship. I built a great relationship with his brother, LeBron.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like I said, I don't take credit for any of the things that I've done over the past, because the Lord has put me in so many positions where I've just been able to be supported, and people have poured in me so much knowledge. And I'm not really a school guy, but I am a student every single day. I'm trying to seek that information that can ultimately be poured back into these kids. So Kevin called me, when I was at Tennessee State University in Nashville. He called me. He was like, hey, man, it's a position here. Go ahead and apply for it. I already told people about you. Don't worry about it. I was like, all right, cool. So I applied for it. It was a community relations position. I didn't really know too much about community relations, but like I said, that development aspect started to take shape, and community relations was just another tool that I could use to be able to build those bridges with the guys. So I worked alongside Chris Millman, Maddie Skarnecchia, Amanda Dinkle, Taylor. Her last name is Benzai now, but Taylor, she got married. Taylor is awesome. Danielle, Courtney. Everybody in that arena that I worked with community relations, Daniel Salazar, we had Evan Langfelder, like so many people in that group of community relations that we had, man. I called them the A-team. Like it was the best team that I've ever been a part of. Obviously, we at the professional level, so you have to do it a certain way, but I think Chris was a great leader in the sense of, hey, you lead by example, you innovate continuously, you bring people along, you listen and respond. There's some things that I learned with the Falcons that has allowed me to kind of take what I've learned and implement it into high school, right? And after being with the Falcons, like we were ripping and running, we was doing a lot of events. I got an opportunity to put on events. I got a lot of experience with putting on meetings, and I think that was the year that we did the initiative for the 1,000,000 minutes for the NFL. I had to keep up with all those numbers and all the community service hours. So it was a lot of responsibility, and that was the first time that I actually had that type of experience. And I loved it. Community relations is something that, it's an acquired taste, but it was something that I felt like added to my toolbox. And from there, after I got, done with my internship, there was an 8-month internship, and I came back to Brookwood and really started getting into the coaching thing and substituting. Mr. Ford here at Brookwood was here when I was here when we won state. So he was an assistant principal, and he went ahead and said, hey, we want you to be an influence in the school. We want you to be a part of our special education program. So currently right now I'm doing interrelated resource special education algebra 1 for 9th graders. It's a challenge. We actually just got finished with DAs and final exams, so ripping and running, trying to get these kids, solidified in their grades, sending home progress reports and things of that nature. But this in itself is a new venture for me too, because this is completely new. I had to take the GACE. You got to get certified to be an educator and things of that nature. So on top of that, doing player development here, recently just got the recruiting coordinator job. So a lot of things are piling up and stacking. But the Lord gives you just enough that you can handle. He doesn't give you too much that you can't handle. So I'm in the process of trying to organize some of this stuff. But like I said, player development really took off for me last year, and Coach Jones gave me the free for all to kind of do what I wanted. So I brought in Kevin. I brought Kevin up to the school. I had some student athletes come up to the school that are still in college. Had some former college athletes come talk, boys and girls. I coach flag football too, so I had. I was
going to bring that up. I seen in your post that you coach the girls flag football team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I love all of my athletes. When I really started to watch the girls flag football team, it's something about the girls flag football team that it just makes me like those girls want to play football. And I respect that. They come out there and they do exactly what you tell them to do, and they're all passionate about it. And I said, man, I have to be a part of this. Like, I want to be a part of this program. So, pushing those girls and getting individuals, women in front of them with influence to give them some knowledge on how to kind of navigate life as a young woman. Super important. I felt like that was a good segment that I had with them. But just all in all, the development program for me is all about fostering the growth of the youth, providing them the authentic opportunity to serve themselves in the community. So for me, giving them that information or having those conversations is super important. And that's kind of what I'm doing right now. I'm thinking about starting a book club here. Thinking about getting some things together where, the athletes come together with the general ed students, and we kind of develop this thing where we have a round table talking about what we can do, what we can make better here at Brookwood. So many ideas, like I said, that I've, contemplated over the past couple months in the new roles that I have. But that's kind of my life, man. I'm in a transitional phase of my life where it's just a lot going on, and I'm trying to figure things out. But I know for a fact that, building these authentic relationships with my kids is something that I enjoy doing. Not necessarily doing the grading and all the other paperwork that comes along with it, but that's something that you have to do, and you have to accept your role, whatever that role is. But I think for me, It's more so having that ability to tell these kids, like, hey, I was right in your seat not too long ago. I graduated from the same exact school. You know, we did big things. You know, I've been to where you're trying to go to. So, you know, you don't have to listen. You don't have to listen. Like, but just understand, like, I'm the answers to the test before you even take it. I'm the answer to the test. And if I don't have an answer, I can definitely find somebody that can provide that answer. So for me, my whole life has been about blazing a trail for not only my brothers, but people that come after me, whether it's my students, former athletes, current athletes, giving them the perspective that, you know, being open to multiple perspectives is the way to be. You know, wisdom comes from gaining different perspectives and not being so, you know, clamped down on a subjective opinion. So, yeah, man, that's kind of what I got going on right now.
That's good, because I got a question for you. So, you know, you're doing it from a high school standpoint. My experience is, you know, college. I coached at high school and I did some stuff, but it wasn't necessarily player development. You already talked about some of the things you've done, but when you look at your role, like, okay, this is my role, is that just kind of, has your head coach kind of give you the autonomy to kind of, in a sense, run with it? Or is there also some like, hey, I need this, maybe your head coach, your principal saying, we want to see this from our student athletes?
I would say I usually, you know, the way I've been taught now, being at the highest level and the professional level, it's all about communication. I think a relationship is nothing without communication. And I feel like, honestly, Coach Jones has a vision of where he wants to go with his football team. Our thing is family. You know, forget about me, I love you. That's his whole thing. Right. I think it's super powerful in the sense of an acronym, but actually what the name entails. Family, you know, putting others first, understanding your role, staying in your lane, doing things outside of what you're normally accustomed to doing for your teammates. So I think for me, my whole strategy behind putting things in front of these kids is always going through the head man and making sure that he's okay with a lot of the information that I'm providing. Obviously, we talk about, you know, business etiquette. We talk about, you know, business etiquette. We talk about, you know, life after football, life after sports in general, that transitional phase. We talk about financial budgeting. We talk about, you know, we talk about a plethora of things, man. And I come up with so many ideas just off the strength of people like you reaching out to you and asking you questions like, hey, what are some of the things that you all look for in a high schooler coming to college? Because now with the transfer portal, it's so easy for guys to pass up on a high school dude, because now you got all these dudes across the country that have gotten familiar with how college football works and having that experience and having that maturity to just come in and be ready to play. A lot of these high school kids don't realize that. So when you're doing all this talking to these recruits and all this, and, you know, going on visits, that's all fine and good, but you have to present yourself, because now you got your name, your image, and your likeness on the line, and you could potentially get paid for it too. So why not have your brand solidified at a very early age, to where you can maneuver how you want to.
And I think you bring up a good point, right? Because the big thing with the transfer portal, and I understand it, is you got an opportunity. You got a guy who's played before, right? A guy who's played like yourself. You know, if you're in the portal and I got the opportunity to get Andre Sims and this high schooler, I'm going Andre Sims if it's, you know, talent's comparable or near each other. And so I think it's a great opportunity. You brought up something I never thought about, like with high school. Like when these guys visit, I have pulled high schoolers to the side and been like, hey man, you probably shouldn't do that, or, you know, hey, don't present yourself like that, or hey, watch how you, like, one kid I had to bring to the side the way he was talking to his mama. I didn't care if we lost the kid. I didn't care if he decommitted from Michigan and we were Kansas. I was like, you're not going to talk to your mom like that. I can't stand here and watch this. And he ended up being a great player, and he grew up. A lot of people thought, I was like, hey, he grew up, and we had a great conversation. So you brought up something I never thought about, how these guys present themselves, because now I could literally say, okay, this linebacker that's 6'2", 220, he came in here, we felt he's a little disrespectful, whatever it may be. All right, cool. Go in that portal and go find me somebody that's 6'2", 220. You know, and call his coach and see how he is. I didn't think about that. Or it could be the opposite. It could be really good. Like, hey, this high schooler is showing the maturity we need. Let's leave the portal alone because we got him for 5 years. So I never thought about that. One thing I wanted to ask you is, because, man, you got some goats, man. You talk about Ashton Henderson, man, and he's doing great things. And I got to know him through N4A and what he's done in college. And I mean, the thing Ashton did, I met him at a conference, and I went up to him and said, hey, how you doing? And he knew who I was, and he said, man, I love the work you're doing. And you know how that feels, like, man, this dude, like, he's the guy. Like, or, you know, I had the opportunity to meet Kevin Winston. I know his brother Lamont, but I got to meet him at the Combine. You've had some goats that have taught you so much. You're getting so much. And then your guy, Darian Harris, who I think is the best one doing it, honestly, in college football. And one thing I love about your alma mater at Michigan State is he has support. You can tell that player development is wanted and championed at Michigan State. But outside of what I want to ask you, outside of all the stuff that you've got externally, all the wisdom and different things like that, what have you learned in the role internally in your experiences?
I would say the mentorship has really helped me. I think that I've learned to not have all the questions. You know, I tend to try to be Superman and have an answer for every question. But sometimes, you know, the wisest person in the room doesn't say a word. Sometimes the wisest person in the room points you in the direction in which you need to go. Like Philippians 4:6 says, you know, the Lord will show you where you need to go. The Lord will give you, you know, your pathway. Even the hard pathways will overflow with abundance. You know, Psalm 65:11. I think for me, you know, in order for me to lead somebody, I have to be able to know myself. I have to be able to know what I'm good at, and I have to be able to take notes. And the one thing that I suggest a lot of guys do as they look into this profession is carry a notebook with you everywhere you go. You have to be a sponge. You know, and I learned that with the Falcons. Like when I came in for an interview, you know, Kevin even told me, he dropped that nugget on me. He was like, "Hey, look, you know, be professional in how you approach, you know, this interview process. Have a pen and paper, have notes to talk about, have questions, be inquisitive about the position. Don't just take it because you're working for the Falcons. Be intentional on what it is that you're trying to do within your career, and add things to your toolbox that will eventually help you build your house." So for me, you know, the words and the wise wisdom and the advice from all the mentors that I have is excellent. But I think for me, it's more so about understanding what works best for me. I don't have the answers to everything, you know. I can point you in a general direction. I have the resources. I got people to talk to, but it's also knowing how to utilize those resources, how to leverage connections, how to build bridges, offering a different point of view, you know, giving people an opportunity to give themselves to you in a sense of telling you their story, right? Being a listener, listening and respond. That's one of the 6 core values with the Atlanta Falcons. So I think for me, aside from just getting valuable information from a number of people, it's more so doing my own research, putting things together that, you know, are applicable in my situation, because, you know, high school is a lot different. Like you said, you know, y'all have resources at the college level, and I've seen those resources, been a part of the recipient end of those resources. But in high school, you know, you're so limited. You know, and where I'm at right now, everybody can come on the team and you're good. You know, we don't have tryouts. Coach Jones even Mr. Ford, our principal, is all about everybody's participation. So with that, you got to have a different mindset of how you kind of approach some kids, because some kids don't have aspirations of going to the next level. Some kids do. You know, some kids are just on the team because they want to play football for the last, you know, year or so of their career. Like, you have to be able to know your audience, you know, understand where everybody's coming from in a sense, and then put together a plan that will allow you to reach everybody. And they, like I said, these kids, they have a short attention span. You know, they all over the place. So how do I
there's no doubt.
Man, I'm telling you, how do you get the best out of a conversation with some of these kids? And the one thing that I've noticed is, like, the real scenarios. We talk about money. Everything is about money now. Easy access. There's so many ways you can make money and things of that nature. And I talk about investing with kids. I'm like, all right, listen. If you love Jordans, right, and you know the new Jordans dropping out in the next couple months, you know, what's the point of going and buying 2 or 3 pair when you can buy 1 pair and buy a couple shares of the stock? Because if you buy 1 pair, you still good, you still fresh, like you can interchange it with whatever. You know what I'm saying? You still can do what you need to do with that 1 pair, but at the same time, now you got money making money for you, and it's long term. And kids look at me like, oh, dang, coach, I didn't even think about it like that. I've gotten to the point now where I start giving out books to kids. Hey, if you want to learn about financial literacy, you can read Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, and that's a good starter. You know, and he has a series of books, and I try to get my kids on that, right, taking notes. Hey, come to my meetings with a pen and pad. Learn how to take notes. Learn how to be disciplined in your art. You know.
See, that's what you brought up. That's my advice to people in player development. What I wish I would have done when I first started is the note-taking of how I would do something, right? And I wish I would have saved everything. So what I do now is I scan everything. Anything we get, a practice schedule, whatever, because I'll write on the side of it, this is how we can do it better, because we're going to come back. You know, football is cyclical. We'll come right back to it. And I learned this from Bo Porter. Bo Porter was a manager for the Astros. He was a mentor of mine. And he said that Bobby Cox, you would know Bobby Cox.
Yeah, Bobby,
the Braves manager would tell him, hey, if you want to be a manager, write notes during the game. And so Bo Porter would write what he would do, and he'd say Bobby Cox would be like, hey, what you writing? You know, but it's like he was writing his adjustments. And it's like I keep like note cards. Even when I go on walks, I keep note cards and just boom, something real quick, I'll come back to it. Because I think note taking, you know, the mind gives you get so many ideas, and you know how it is, man. Because I know in college I'll get pulled. Okay, man, I got this idea. Okay, so and so need help. I get pulled. I was like, man, what was I thinking about?
Right.
Never come back to it. Now, so we're gonna move to the section. This section is called advice.
Okay.
So, what's your overall advice for people in this role? Because I honestly believe you and what you're doing, you can give advice to people who, you know, on a college level, on a pro level, people who want to start it at high school. Some people may be listening that want to do it in Little League or a different sport. In this role of player development, what's the best advice you can give someone?
I think everybody's formula is different because everybody is different. I think the point of view, you have to be open-minded to a lot of things that people bring you. Everybody's situation is different. Everybody's story is different. Everybody's process is different. I think some of the key ingredients within that and being effective in this role, obviously, is being genuine, right? I'm still in that phase of life where I'm trying to know all of my players' names. Like, it's new kids on here. Like, I want to know everybody's name. Like, I want to be good at just saying, oh, hey, what's up, John? Hey, yo, what's up, Brandon? Hey, what's up, Dylan Lonergan, one of our top guys in the state of Georgia at quarterback. I want to be able to talk to these guys in a way that they know, oh, man, that's Coach Sims. Coach Sims cool. Like, Coach Sims, he's open. You know, we can talk to Coach Sims about certain things. Because a lot of kids don't have that genuineness, that authenticity, that purposeful heart to just be like, hey, tell me what's going on with you, bro. Because you don't know what these kids are going through, right? Like in college, you have that ability to kind of reel guys in, right? But in high school, I only see these kids from 6'55" to 210, and after that, you know, we get summers off. You know, I don't really get a lot of chance to, you know, talk to them on the phone for real. But it's really just like practice, you know, a little bit in school, and then, you know, summer sessions where we work out. It's not really it's not really a confined environment. All these kids ripping and running.
Absolutely.
They come in and
because
go.
I can go get my guys.
Right.
I go get my guys. I know exactly where you're at. Here I come.
Hey,
let's go grab lunch. Let's go grab lunch. Yeah.
Man, and it's one of those things where now, like, I'm developing a sense of, you know, being genuine and purposeful about that. I already talked about the perspective, but you also got to know your audience. Like, you got to know what you're dealing with. Like, these high school kids are right now. That's all they think about. That's all they know. A 15-year-old kid only has 50 years of experience, which is not a long time on this earth. If you really think about it, the thought process behind it, and their brains don't really fully develop till they're 24. So it's basically like you're talking to somebody who ain't really computing what you're saying. It's more so what you do. So that's another thing. Like, you have to be a man of action. If I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. Because if I don't do it, then them guys are like, oh, man, you know, Coach Sim just, you know, he this, that, and the third. You just blowing smoke. It's a lot of capping going on. You know, they say cap all the time. So it's a lot of capping going on. Like, you know, I try to make sure that I'm doing the best that I can and being the best version of myself for them, so they see, like, all right, this is an African-American brother in the school system. He dresses professionally. One of the things that I've been told as a youth, hey, man, don't dress for the job that you got, dress for the job that you want. And I dress professional every single day because that's the level that I want to be on. That's the type of level I want to be associated with. And the kids know that. I always got a book in my hand. I'm always reading something. I'm always, like, writing something down. I'm like, yo, where your pen at? Where your book at? What you been reading? How much money you got? Like, what's your financial budget look like? I'm always asking those questions so they know Coach Sims finna come in. Hey, I got a quote for everybody. Hey, man, how much money you got? Hey, where your book at? You know, everybody just know. So as soon as I hit that corner, it's like, oh, here we go. Coach Sims finna ask me where my book at. So they get to thinking and that repetition. So it's not like, you know, they go home and they hear the same thing: be successful, go to class, do this, do that from their parents. Coach Sims is saying the same thing. You know, Coach Sims did it. Coach Sims been here, you know. So it's kind of that genuineness, being authentic, being purposeful, you know, understanding that everybody has perspective and actually understanding your target audience.
Yeah. So you've received a lot of advice in your life, man, from your parents who've done an incredible job, coaches. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, you played for Coach D'Antonio. You probably Coach Narduzzi was there. You know, you got, I think Terrence Samuel was probably your position coach.
Position coach.
So I mean, you got so many people pouring into your life. What would you say? And listen to your faith, probably pastors and so many other people. What would you say is the best advice you've ever gotten?
Man, that is an interesting question, because I don't think it's just one piece of advice that I've gotten that I overrule over all the rest of them. I would say it's a few quotes and a few phrases that I use around my guys. The first one is just never too late, right? And I say that because I'm 29 years old and I'm actually starting to get into financial literacy and what it takes to be financially free. The difference between wages and equity. Understanding how the quadrants work. I read the Rich Dad Poor Dad book, so I'm all into the quadrants now. The E quadrant, the S quadrant, the B quadrant, the I quadrant. Like I said, I'm a student of life, so I'm always trying to figure out what it is that I could get better at. And I know the one thing that I lacked growing up was financial literacy. So for me, it's never too late to start something, whether that's reading, whether that's writing, whether it's working out, whether it's starting a diet, whatever the case, it's never too late. That's number one. Number two, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. One of my pro fights from Michigan State, his name is Jaquay Halliburton, and I'm part of one of the greatest fraternities ever created, Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. So he that was his thing for us. Like, when I met him, it was always, "Hey man, you ready?" I'm like, "Man, I got this, that, and the third." And his saying was, "If you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready, bro. I don't know what you're waiting on." So I'm like, that stuck with me forever, because if I got all my stuff in place, which is a perfect example of this player development. I started working on my player development when I was at Tennessee State, not knowing that I'd be back at Brookwood, where I would have a platform to put this information in front of the kids, because Coach Jones knew who I was. So he was like, "Hey man, what ideas do you have?" I said, "All right, Coach. Well, I've been thinking about this player development." He said, "Well, I want you to run it." Okay, well, that's the Lord right there, just telling me like, "Hey, you got all this stuff that you've been working on for the past 4 or 5 years. Boom, now put it into play." So that's one of the quotes that I live by. One of my uncles, he has cerebral palsy. He's disabled. But the one thing that he always says that makes the most sense to me is, "Don't be nowhere you can't get nowhere." Like, if you really break that phrase down, like, don't be nowhere you can't get nowhere. Don't put yourself in a situation that you can't get out of. And I think a lot of kids don't think about that situation, especially in college football, especially for high schoolers. Like, okay, you want to be a part of the cool crowd. We see all these kids picture posters, throwing up gang signs. You coming out. And the biggest thing for me right now is kids come to school with pajama pants on and like the head wraps and the do-rags. I'm like, bro, listen, if a college coach was to walk in here right now and you got pajama pants on and a do-rag on, what you think he gonna say? "Oh, he's not ready for this program. That's not the image we want." You just put yourself in a category full of people that will never ever get a chance to see what that college football lifestyle is like. Right. You don't want to be like everybody else. You want to be separate from everybody else. You want to be your own entity. You want to be different. And that's what a student athlete is. It's a different type of individual. So for me, don't put yourself in a situation that you can't get out of. Don't be nowhere that you can't get nowhere. And then I think the last quote that I read in a book, I don't know if you read this book. It's called The Ways of a Superior Man. The Ways of a Superior Man.
Ways of a Superior Man.
The Ways of a Superior Man. I think his name is David C. something. I read this a while back. But The Ways of a Superior Man, and there was a quote in there that I will never forget, and I tell this to my team all the time. "Every moment waited is a moment wasted, and every wasted moment degrades your clarity of purpose." That is deep. Like, every moment waited is a moment wasted, and every wasted moment degrades your clarity of purpose. So that idea, like you say, if you're getting pulled in different areas of your life, right? If somebody has you to go get this player, or if somebody say, "Hey, do this, do that, and the third," and you got your notebook down and you dialing up these ideas, and you wasting time on your phone, you scrolling through Instagram or doing things that don't amount to nothing. That is a moment wasted that you just degraded your clarity of your purpose. Like, any idea that comes to you that fuels your fire is from whoever you believe in. It could be from the universe, it could be from your creator, your ancestors, God, it could, whoever you believe in as an individual could be pouring these ideas into you. And without a solid mindset of thinking, hey, every moment that I got doing what I'm doing is a moment that needs to be taken care of. Man. Right? So every moment waited is a moment wasted. Every wasted moment degrades your clarity of purpose. So that was the last one that I lived by. Yeah, I live by that because I find myself scrolling on Instagram and doing this, doing that, and I'm thinking like, man, it's 30 minutes that just gone by when I could have been writing something down to upgrade my player development program.
Yeah. You know what? What you just said there, that really hit me. Right now I'm terminated without cause. I got let go of my last university, and it's been 5 months, right? And like one of the greatest things I've done is create this podcast, create this platform, because now I get to, me and you've hit me up, and I've been busy. Now we get to connect, different things like that. But like one thing I've learned, that quote that you talk about, is literally my daughters. Like I think about all the time. I spend so much time with my family, and it's for me, wherever I go next, like there's a certain part of that part I'm not giving away. Because I've spent so much time with my daughters. I realize the times I sit in the office talking to people, taking that extra hour to get something done, and honestly, like I'm wasting moments with my kids. Even like the phone. I put my phone down. My daughter's old enough to be like, Daddy, you're not looking at me. And you're just like, dang, like I'm literally on the phone looking at something that has nothing to do with my, like you said, my purpose, my legacy, and my daughter's right here. So man, I love that quote you said right there. Man. One thing before we go to the kind of the rapid fire portion of this podcast, I got two questions for you. So actually you brought it up. The crazy thing is, Andre, y'all, I wish I could show y'all the questions I had of how many Andre's answer. So like for instance, I was gonna ask you for a practical nugget, but you gave us one with I always have something to write with. And so this is something. So I'll move to these two questions. For me personally, I can only imagine what it looks like for you. I did 6 years as director of player development, and I was blessed to have an incredible intern at the University of Kansas, Lauren Hawkins, who's at Arkansas now at the time of this recording. But it's been a one-man show. So I have my thoughts. And I know you're doing it in high school, and I know you could get pulled in so many ways. If this role were to grow at the high school level, or which I honestly believe you'll find yourself on this level here soon, what does support look like for you in this role?
I would say that in this role at a high school level, I would say support, as in like I talked about the collaboration aspect of the general education students, because they bring us support too on game days. They coming out, they doing what they need to do in the student section side, like keeping it lit. We need to build that connection there. We can bring more support in those type of scenarios where we include everybody, right? So the student section, like having that. My thing was I was going to call it like a Brookwood horseshoe, and I got all this stuff together, but the Brookwood horseshoe is dedicated to everybody having a say in how we become better. How do we innovate continuously? How do we continue that tradition of excellence? And we get not just athletes in there, but we get 2 or 3 athletes from each sport. We get 2 or 3 representatives from each club. We get the presidents involved. This is student led. High school is all player led. So, we call the plays and whatnot, and you're only limited to so much talent, but the guys that really buy into the plan, the guys and the girls that really understand what we're trying to accomplish, those are the ones that lead the team in a sense. And that kind of goes all the way into college, and that goes into professional. But I think high school is more authentic because you only can work with what you got, right? So
there's no doubt. That's why I have massive respect for high school coaches, and I've been on the college level, and that's why. And no knock to any coaches, but that's why a lot of high school coaches do have success on the college level. Because whoever's in my room, I'm gonna make him play. Yeah. Whoever they gonna play. And so sorry to cut you off, but as a former high school coach, I got a lot of respect. Whoever walks through that door, we got to win with them.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and that kind of brings me into the next phase of support, like our alumni base. The one thing that I'm trying to improve on at the high school level, we've had guys go to the NFL. Cameron Lynch is one of my good friends. Rennie Curran is a
he's crushing it right now. I look at LinkedIn, he's crushing it on motivational speaking. Yeah.
And even having him, reaching out to him and saying, hey bro, whatever you need, I can come back and talk to the kid. I'm like, man, we need you every day. If you can come up in here and spit some knowledge to these kids on a daily basis, that would improve our program like like literally tenfold. But even utilizing that support of having alumni coming back and mentoring these guys or mentoring these girls and really pouring into them. I'm thinking about even reaching out to the community and having an opportunity for some of the restaurants or some of the business owners to come in and say, hey, look, we're looking for these type of individuals to come in and work for us. Hey, we got job opportunities. Just opening the door for these kids. Because like I said, high school is that point of life where it's either you going to the next level or you're not. It's like there's no gray area. It's either
very clear.
This is gonna be the end, or this is gonna really be the beginning and pop you off into the college. So for a lot of these guys and girls, they're trying to figure out what the next move is. So in a sense of me giving them the resources, how do I provide them the resource that allows them to start making those decisions at 18, 17 years old? Okay, well, let me get you in front of alumni. Let me get you in front of community people that you probably been seen before because you live in this area. Let me get you in front of these people so you can start communicating, using your skills that we talk to you about, having an open mind, utilizing that ability to be able to build those bridges, as well as offering a different perspective. So kids can have that, hey, reference. This is a reference. Understand what a reference is and how powerful it can be to your success. So I think support in many forms of high school, you can have so many avenues of support, but I think bringing people back to give these kids that mentorship that they're seeking is super important.
Yeah, and so the next question I'll bring, because the one thing in this role, you take care of so many people, man. You take care of so many people. And I always have to ask people, and I found this out this past year, like I finally had to take care of myself. So how do you take care and develop yourself?
Man, I credit this to Brittany McClendon. She is a really good friend of mine. I love this individual. I think she's beautiful inside and out. Her beauty is way more than skin deep. She planted the seed for me to go to therapy, literally go to therapy. And I was like, man, I was one of those people that did not believe in therapy. I'm like, how a person that don't know me gonna give me some advice? Help me. How a person that don't know where I'm coming from, even if I explain to you some of the things that I've been through in my life, you probably wouldn't understand it. Just assuming the person, whoever the person is, probably wouldn't see my side of things unless I was detail oriented in what I'm saying. But I think therapy has allowed me to build some form of self-care. I think the first couple sessions that I had with my therapist, her name is Miss Walker, the first 3 things she gave me to do was 15 minutes a day of self-care, whatever that is. That could be, I've learned that cutting my hair is something that I love to do. Manicures, pedicures, keeping my body right, working out, eating right, 15 minutes a day, planning my meals and things of that nature. Like, that is super essential. Reading, writing, 10 pages in 15 minutes, however you want to go about it, but 15 minutes a day to do what it is that you need to be doing for your self-care. That was one. Number 2, she said to set boundaries. Start setting boundaries. Like, don't be just a yes man. Don't just do everything for everybody. And I was I am that person. I'm a doer. Like, if you ask me to do something, I'm a servant of the Lord. I'm a servant of his kingdom. So that's what I'm going to do for you. Especially if I feel like it's going to help you progress, if it's going to help you get in the direction that you desire to be in, I'm going to do it for you, and I'm going to do the best that I can for you. So she said, set boundaries. And then the last one, I got to remember because this was like a couple months ago. The last one was, I think she said, come up with a set schedule, right? Set your schedule on Sunday, have everything mapped out, adjust as you go, but have weekly goals, right?
I like that.
And people say, all right, well, I want to lose weight, I want to do this, I want to work out, in 90 days, I'm going to do this. Well, in order to get to 90, you first got to go through 1.
Correct.
Right? You got to go through 2. You got to go through 3. So it's that day-to-day incremental growth that you need instead of just looking at the overall picture, having a sense of consistency and moving through each stage and what it's worth.
Sorry to cut you off, but like, you brought the incremental deal. I read one of the best books I've read is Atomic Habits by James Clear, and he talked about that. He said, if you want to be what you want to do what that person does. And so he talked about a lady who lost 100 pounds, and what he said, he talked to her, he's like, what are the people who look like what you do? And they're like, well, they go to the gym. He said, okay, well, literally go in there day one, go in the gym, and walk on the treadmill for 5 minutes and walk out. Mm-hmm. And like literally, as time went on, she became a gym goer. Or if you read, okay, literally start like you said, read 1 page of that book, 1 page, put the book, and then go 2 the next day. And so, like literally, man, it's interesting you say that because I think so many times I've even helped myself right now. So right now I'm on a weight loss journey, and I'm like, you know what? What do people who look? They have a lot of color in their diet. And so I'm buying vegetables and fruits, and I'm adding that to my diet, and then taking time because what I've learned in life, a lot of it is what you put into your body. Because you can, you know how it is, man. I could work out like crazy and eat eat melted Klondike bars every single day and not get the result. Right. So I love that you brought that up. So this is what I'm really excited. Once again, Andre, thank you so much, man. You dropped so much knowledge, man. It's like the questions. I'm looking there looking at my questions. I'm like, he answered that one. He answered that one. He answered that one. The big thing. So we're about to go rapid fire, man. These questions. So you don't know what these questions are. Here we go. Okay. What are you reading right now?
That's crazy. I'm reading like multiple books right now, but I would say that the more interesting book for me right now is the Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki. That's another version of his Rich Dad Poor Dad book, and it just talks about financial literacy and some of the things that people mistaken or take for granted in regards to their assets and their liabilities. Understanding that you need to have more assets than liabilities, because after your expenses, you get into that budgeting, living check to check, trying to get into that financial literacy piece where you're building equity versus, working for wages all your life. And it's kind of molded my mindset of thinking that, hey, for me at 45, I'm gonna retire. And I tell everybody that, like, I'm 29 right now. I'm going to hit 30 right around November, and I got 15 years to really grind. And when I hit 45, I don't want to work for nobody. So that's my goal. But that's the book that I'm reading.
Got you. All right, what daily discipline are you working on?
Daily discipline, consistent meditation, waking up every single day and thanking the Lord for giving me another day, and before I go to sleep, giving Him the praise for getting me throughout the whole day. So daily meditation.
I love that. All right, someone gives you $25 for lunch. Where are you going in the city you live in? Or the area you live in?
$25 for lunch? That's a good question. $25 could probably get you a good 2 or 3 days of a good pasta from like Kroger. I'm going to Kroger.
Okay.
Like I love it. I'm going.
I love it.
I'm gonna use money to buy a whole thing of stuff. You probably only could get like maybe 2 days off of that, but it's better than going to. I ain't been to McDonald's in years, but it's better than going to Zaxby's and paying $10 for one meal that's gonna last you one day, as opposed to going and buying groceries and eating for a couple days. So,
all right. So to that, someone tells you, okay, I got a $125 gift card that can only go to a restaurant for dinner. Where are you going?
Man, $125.
You got to go to a restaurant. Mm-hmm.
In my city?
In your city, in your area, surrounding area.
$125. The best restaurant I've been to in Atlanta is the Breakfast Club.
Oh wow!
Atlanta's Breakfast Club. They got this peach cobbler French toast that was on USA Today, Food America or something.
I'm gonna write that down.
No, it was legit good. They got chicken and waffles. The scrambled eggs is good. The omelets are good. I think they serve from like early in the morning till about like noonish lunchtime. So that's like perfect for me. So I would definitely hit Atlanta's Breakfast Club. Yeah.
Okay. If you could join a band or music group, past or present, which one would it be?
Man, it's a good one. Okay.
I'll try, man. I'll try.
Hey, if I could join a band or a group, I wish Marvin Gaye had a group that he was singing in. Right. He ain't had no group. He was solo, but
you could join it. You could join him.
And I would either do him or I would rock with Jodeci. I'm an old school 90s. Yeah, I'm a Jodeci. That's my vibe. I'm more of a I'm laid back. I talk a lot, but I'm laid back, and I'm more of that chivalry ain't dead type person. So
I got you. I like that. All right, who would you co-star in a movie with, action and comedy. Who out of those two, who are you co-starring with?
Comedy would definitely have to be Martin Lawrence because I love that dude. Like
that's
Martin
my
Lawrence,
guy. I love Martin.
I have all of the Martin seasons, and I just think he's like hilarious. Action wise, you got to really think about this because if you in it with the right person, you can really take your acting career to the next level. I've actually thought about this. So for me, it would be Denzel Washington.
I like it.
Denzel is, it don't matter how old he get, like he's still rocking. He's still rocking. Like I think I could learn a lot from him, and he's like wisdom filled. So it wouldn't necessarily just be acting with him; it would be around him and some of the thought processes that he has, some of the conversations he might give you, some of the nuggets he might drop on you. Like I think Denzel probably the best, hands down, probably one of the best actors of all time.
Gotcha. All right, sport you wish you played when you were younger?
Soccer.
Yeah,
I'm a big soccer fan. I think it would have helped me a little bit more at wide receiver with my footwork and even conditioning. Those dudes run like those
all
dudes
the time.
Run 90. Yeah, it's a 90-minute game. They run it for 45 minutes straight. So it's like conditioning for me in soccer.
I feel that's my sport I would have played. I fell in love with soccer when I coached it because I played with our guys. I ran and I was in better shape, but I got out there with the guys and I was like, man, the teamwork. It's like I really like it, even though it's 3-2. But man, we had some really success. And then the last question I have: how can we follow you, man? How can we follow you on social? How can we support you?
Okay, so my social media, my Instagram name is Coach Sims 321, and that's Coach SIMS 321 on Instagram. My Twitter name, let me look, because the thing about social media with me, I know I have to continue to be on there because of my guys, but I'm trying to give myself some space when it comes to social media because it's only so much that you can really do with it. But the recruiting world works around it, so I have to be able to kind of be in and out. But my Twitter is DR3_SIMS. So that's Dre. That's Dr.3_Sims. And that's my Twitter. So I don't have a Snapchat. I got out of that. I don't have a TikTok. I feel like that's for kids. Yeah. No disrespect to any grown person who got a TikTok.
No.
Those are the only two things I'm on right now. So.
Okay. Well, man, I appreciate you, Andre, so much for just dropping knowledge, man. I'm proud of you. You're a pioneer at the high school level, and like I said, I honestly see you going, not only the collegiate level, even the professional level, just because of how you do things. Man. So appreciate the work you do for student athletes, and that is it for the show. Thank y'all.
Appreciate you, brother, man.